Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spell Country with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. This is the roundup for Thanksgiving week. As mentioned during my review yesterday for Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, because of the holiday and, well, the fact that I work retail, yes, this week's roundup is slightly delayed, and more than likely so will next week's. Next week's will be delayed for different reasons, but yeah. Anyway, moving on. Let's get started, shall we? Kicking things off, we've got Wolverine number 18. Where we left off, Wolverine's buddy, U.S. government buddy Jeff Bannister, was on the run after his office had been wiped out by gunmen. Who was he on the run from? Presumably the X-Desk. And their current, and seemingly their current operative du jour, Maverick, longtime friend of Wolverine's. But, and in fact, Bannister had just run into Maverick. So, Bannister returns to his motel room where he finds Logan watching TV with his daughter. However, just as Bannister's going to calm down, a smoke grenade, a flash grenade gets tossed into the room. And yeah, it was tossed in there by Maverick. Maverick and his mercenary outfit, the Mercs, are, basically go after Bannister and Logan, and pursuit seems pretty legit. But yeah, they're able to they are able to get through a gate, and Wolverine immediately has the Krakoan gate system as a whole completely reset, so that none of them will ever allow Maverick to enter the island. So they look over the recording device, or the surveillance device that Bannister had found. We've got excerpts from Forge's logbook about the surveillance device. Theories are that Maverick stole and employed the device because of the daily EMP blasts. Only organic technology would have been viable. And that he's likely in league with the X-Desk of the CIA. There are 164 hours, 35 minutes, and 17 seconds of recording. Unknowns are the number of times the device had been used. Turns out that it had often been used at the Green Lagoon as a surveillance site. Especially worrisome given that sensitive and compromising information is more likely to be shared when under the influence. A follow-up with Sage brings cross-checking gate traffic for the duration of recording. Developed short list based on entrances and exits to ensure Maverick was working alone. Program gates to deny Maverick further entrance. Also, Ford makes a note to do 100 squats and 100 burpees before coffee every morning. But later, Bannister goes to meet with Dolores from the X-Desk, and to say he's pissed is putting it lightly. She denies any involvement, and just to be on the safe side, Wolverine is at the counter of the diner waiting, or just in case. However, in the middle of Bannister's discussion with Dolores, she gets shot by a sniper. Wolverine goes after the sniper. And then goes to finish up the job. Turns out it's not the X-Desk that has employed Maverick, but rather the Legacy House, the auction house in Madripoor that was auctioning off among other things, Maverick. There's a further logbook about the surveillance device. But which it seems Maverick's gotten back. So he goes to the home of the merchant of the from Legacy House, whose home is in Texas. It turns out that while yes, he still intends to sell rare and unique items, well, information is equally valuable. And so, turns out the recording device was reprogrammed, full of Johnny Cash. Meanwhile, Bannister and his daughter are enjoying Krakoa. Whether or not it's a permanent situation remains to be seen. Though, if so, that would be interesting, given the fact that, you know, I mean, Bannister's human, but how his daughter might be mutant, but we don't know. I say might be because it's possible, not because there are any signs of possible mutation. But and yeah, the issue ends with the Mercs and the merchants, people pointing guns at each other. And it's a good ending to a good story. While it saddens me that Maverick opted to remain a free agent and in fact turn against Krakoa, I get the reasoning. Maverick isn't a mutant whose mutation is obvious. So, in fact, his mutation, generally speaking, tends to be ill-defined, and you know, kind of a here are some guidelines that with kind of here are some basic guidelines for how it can work. So yeah, but. But yeah, it is sad to see that of the three most prominent members of Team X, only one seems to have any true moral compass, and that being Wolverine. After all, the other two core members of Team X were Maverick and Sabretooth, and well, Maverick is pretty considered to be an enemy of the state of Krakoa, and Sabretooth is trapped in the pit. For now. Moving on to our next book, though, we've got Symbiote SpiderMan Crossroads, number 5. Where we left off, it seems all paths were leading to the end, to this issue. Everyone had come together. Carnilla had the Matrix Stone and was more powerful than she'd been before. They were in the Norn dimension. Well, Spider-Man, Hulk, and Icarus, so the Eternal, were in the Norn dimension. But with the Matrix Stone, with the Matrix Stone, Carnilla is extraordinarily powerful. An attack from the Hulk doesn't phase her, an attack from Icarus doesn't phase her. But while Spider-Man does catch her by surprise, it doesn't take long for him to defeat her. Black Cat and Doctor Strange are trying to figure out how to help Spider-Man. And Black Cat asks if Doctor Strange can send someone into the Norn dimension, and suggests that he send her. So Spidey and Black Cat go find the Norns, and they convince them to make Carnilla lose. which, of course, it also helps that Zuras and Odin both show up, and yeah. So the stone is taken from her, and Odin destroys the stone. Black Cat and Spider-Man are sent back. Hulk himself is sent back to the Crossroads, and seemingly all's well that ends well. And for the first time, it doesn't look like we're getting teased next Symbiote Spider-Man mini. Honestly, I've been enjoying the Symbiote Spider-Man minis. I especially appreciate the fact that though Marvel has a sliding time scale, so I think that technically speaking, the Black Costume Saga was technically less than 10 years ago in comic time. Putting it in the 2010s, I actually kind of appreciate the fact that they don't show characters walking around talking on cell phones. There's nothing that suggests that that's the sort that takes place, in the 2010s. But there's also nothing that explicitly says it's the sort that takes place in the 1980s. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Amazing Spider-Man number 79. Where we left off, Spider-Man Ben Reilly had been dealing with had been dealing with various spider villains. He dealt with Morbius, barely defeated him. And in fact, the defeat was actually carried out by his training crew, Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, who aren't working for Beyond Corporation without ulterior motive, namely that they've been hired to do so by Monica Rambeau, former employee of a subsidiary of the Beyond Corporation, the highest anti-terrorism effort, hate. Meanwhile, Peter Parker is in a coma. So the issue begins. A handful of Beyond executives are out at a bar having fun, when one of them sees something. But next day, Ben Reilly's going through a firmware update to his spider armor, and he adds that he knows about the firmware update, or he understands the importance of the firmware update, which is why, in fact, he did his own the previous night. But Ben goes to the hospital to see how Peter's doing. And he talks some with Peter before heading back out. But he's told to go after a truck. Turns out one of the things he added to the firmware was being able to block his tracer. Well, once again, being able to block the tracer. Let's see, how's that? In a manner that, in a way that remains within the suit's functionality, referred to as Do Not Disturb mode. But Ben stops some runaway trucks, checks on a Beyond exec, and finds the exec hitting with a dart. Before he can investigate further, however, the exec's penthouse blows up, and Spidey finds himself face to face with none other than Kraven the Hunter. They duke it out, and Spidey gets hit with a massive dose of the mystical herbs and whatnot. The mystical herbs and spices that Kraven uses, and is tripping balls. balls. And I mean tripping balls. And that is where the issue ends. It's interesting that we're getting that Beyond seems to be the Beyond story seems to basically feature Spider-Man going up against a myriad of villains in quick succession. One might almost assume that perhaps these villains have been secretly contracted, or just given the right push to help Beyond test the new spider suit. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Detective Comics number 1045. Where we left off, the Detective Comics Fear State tie-in. The mayor of Gotham City, Mayor Nakano, former member of the GCPD, and in fact a staunch anti-vigilante mayor, was trapped in the sewer with Batman, and had found a crutch of eggs of Hugh Vile's parasite. The eggs got after the mayor, and so Batman electrocuted the area, killing the parasites and possibly harming the mayor. Also, it's caused many of the parasites going to bubble up into from the storm drains. But Batman manages to save the mayor, and he tells hey, look, I know you don't like me, but we have to work together. Part of Nakano's problem with Batman is that he blames Batman for the death of his partner, as shown in Batman and Joker War, which was actually shown in Detective Comics number 1027. But Oracle puts the word out that everything about the parasite, and so they're going after it. But Batman informs the mayor about what happened with Hugh Vile, and including that he himself was possessed by one of Vile's parasites. And he at least gets the mayor to work with him for the moment. However, one of the Vile parasites has become something a bit more than normal, and so... But Batman is facing it, trying to take it down. However, it is eventually taken care of. When Batgirl Oracle asks if they're coordinating with the mayor now, Batman simply states that they're working on it. However, the mayor has a large list. Has quite a few things on his mind to bring up, such as he has some information he wants the mayor's his office to look into from someone they're coordinating with now. He wants to see Deb Donovan. Wants to talk about city infrastructure, all of it. It'll stay in his office, and he'll give her an exclusive interview for her trouble. And at the end, this finishes with Nakano saying that that his office is going to start making a list, a better list. Of monsters. And that is where Detective Comics Fear State tie-in ends. Our backup story, Foundations, Part 2, during the construction of post Fear State, the construction of Arkham Tower, which Batman has been trying to prevent, but in legal manners, not like sabotaging the construction site. But it seems one of the workers has become potentially possessed. So Batman does what he can to save everyone, makes his way through, and gets exposed to gas. And it's causing him to see various things: his parents, the Joker, falling, and he tracks it. And he follows someone he'd seen earlier to an encounter with Harley Quinn, who claims to be real. Apparently, she asks if she's real quite a bit herself. So, but she states as well she would be honored to have a place in Batman's day trip. She tells him it's time to decide the real fate of the tower. And that is where the issue ends. The Arkham Tower stuff is largely going to be a major focal point of the Batman books next year. So, of course, they're setting up now, which I would rather see a one-shot, but hey, whatever. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Catwoman number 37. Now, it's interesting how the fact that the Fear State times for both Harley Quinn and Catwoman both deal with the same thing, and in fact tell a story which is connected. But rather than having it be, the first part of the story is told in Catwoman, the second part in Harley, so on and so forth, like that. Instead, we're getting the first half of the story is being told in Catwoman, the second half is being told in Harley. So, in Catwoman, the White Witch, during the Magistrate's siege of Alleytown, the White Witch attempted to, at the behest of Simon Saint, steal the ivy seed that the gardener had created, which Simon Saint had previously stolen. But meanwhile, the Riddler is trying to get the ivy seed out of Alleytown, but not the way it's supposed to be gotten out. Rather, he's trying to get it out to the Penguin. Though Riddler takes a moment to gloat and not just kind of I did great, but rather letting Catwoman know that what he did. To which she simply says, "I know you did all this. I know you were going to do all this, which is why I set things up so you couldn't." In fact, she even adds that she counted on him doing exactly that, and well, turns out it's not the ivy seed that Penguin and his goons have intercepted, rather Clayface. The ivy seed never left, and Ivy and Harley are reunited, leading to, well, the last two issues of Harley Quinn and this most current one. But the White Witch is White Witches, I guess, since there are multiple of them, are taken down by Ghostmaker, as well as Ivy, or as well as Selena, and we kind of get a little montage about everything, and with the Strays managed to pick up the pieces in Alleytown, and she's trying to figure out Selena's trying to figure out what to do. It seems like also there was an unseen reunion between Bruce and Selina. Babs and Selina also had a moment. But the issue ends with her saying that so often she stood on cold rooftops wondering if she might get a shadow to chase her just so she would stop feeling so alone. She's not even afraid of that anymore. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our last video for now. Harley Quinn, number 9. So, Harley's been having, apparently after saving the Ivy Seed from Alleytown, well, Harley had to get the Ivy Seed back to Eden to combine with Queen Ivy. And of course, he ran into an old play pal of hers, Keepsake. We'll open with a flashback to the early days of Harley working at Arkham. But we've got Harley and Ivy trying to escape Keepsake. Also Kevin is attempting to save some of Hugo Strange's safe employees in the safe headquarters, which Strange has set on fire with everyone inside. Hey, the witnesses all burned to death. They can't testify, right? But there's even a point where he has a little moment of, should I rescue this jerk who's been, who was kind of torturing me while I was here, or just leave him? In the end, he decides to do the right thing and save the guy, but yeah. So, dealing with Keepsake. Of course, Harley's able to take him down, because calling him a B-rate villain at this point is being extremely generous. And everyone heads to Eden. However, at safe headquarters, it seems Kevin might be stuck. However, Sam, his new friend, possibly, I'm almost certain it's actually Bluebird, sees him and helps him, and manages to help him. Apparently, she's afraid of fire. So, but they get each other out of there, and Sam asks if Kevin wants to go out to dinner, because she doesn't know about Kevin, but almost any burning building makes her really crave some pancakes. But underneath Gotham, on the way to Eden, Harley is trying to figure out a way to explain what's going on with Ivy to the Ivy Seed. And as we saw in last week's Batman, it works. So yeah. Now there's still one more Fear State tie-in to go. There's a Fear State Omega dropping this coming week. So that'll be our wrap-up. And in fact, after that's done, we'll be doing our recap of the event as a whole. So the recap will likely drop either next weekend, maybe we'll see. I'll figure it out. Anyway, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.